So my background is in English/creative writing, and as a result of that, I work with these literary journals, which didn't come into play for the Library of Congress this time around, but it's something I'm considering for the next time. At Montgomery College, I teach composition, literature, and creative writing. But to adapt the Library of Congress to my classroom, I decided to focus on composition since that's the bulk of my teaching duties, and also that's where most of my students come in. I couldn't work all three into that. So for composition, working with first year composition for my English 101 and 102 classes, primarily we work with rhetoric. We analyze rhetoric, we critique rhetoric, and we compare rhetoric, and then we write rhetoric. So for my students, I ask them to I prepare them by saying, you have to go to the Library of Congress. It's not extra credit, you have to go. And I want to get as many of them here as possible. And I challenge them to find a piece of rhetoric to analyze. For a comparison analysis paper, I ask them to compare something they find at the Library of Congress with something else. It could be another piece from the Library of Congress, or it could be with something from the present day. It could be from present day, from different sources, but at least one thing from Library of Congress. And we did, for my class, have a focus on civil rights, current events, civil rights, issues related to race, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, and so on. And there's so many things going on today that have to do with all that. To prepare them for the visit, I showed them one piece of visual text from the Library of Congress, which was this photograph, which captured how that flag was displayed back in the day whenever a man was lynched, whenever a black man was lynched, and the NAACP would hang this flag outside their headquarters. And this photo is taken from the Library of Congress website. So I utilized the Library of Congress, the diagnostic tool. We looked at it, we came up with observations, reflections, and asked questions. I did that on its own at first with just the flag, and then I asked them to compare it to present day. So we considered the Black Lives Matter t-shirt. Just imagine a t-shirt with that, with those words on it. And then we performed a comparison analysis in class. So the students were very quick to catch on and see that, in fact, this very historical photograph and artifact is still very relevant today. So by analyzing the two, we can look at how far we've come or not come, and what issues still remain, and how we may utilize a primary source, a historical primary source, to better inform where we still have to go today, or how things are going today. Afterwards, I brought the students here. I think I brought about 70 to 80 students to the Library of Congress through many trips. That was the most difficult task, I think, of the whole year, just herding all the students together. I give them maps with arrows showing which entrance to go to and where to meet, and still, like a third of the students would show up half an hour to an hour later saying, oh, I was in the main reading room. And I would be impressed that they even got there in the first place. But we did come to the Library of Congress, and that was, I can't emphasize the wonder that these students experienced. Even before we showed up, when I told them they would go see that flag in that photograph, I asked students saying, you mean that particular thing? We're going to see that thing? And they would say, yes, it's here. It's on display right now at the Library of Congress. And so it was just a sense of marvel as the students came. And of course, everybody immediately took out their cameras, the phones, and started taking pictures. And something that you could see really resonated with the students and left an impact on them. So for our trip, I brought everybody over, and each person got their library cards. I wanted them to see the main reading room because you had to. And I also made a point to get all our students into both of these reading rooms, the newspaper and periodicals reading room and the prints and photographs reading room, particularly because for work relating to rhetorical texts, whether it be written or visual, these were the most effective, most readily available to be used for classroom purposes. So here's a student utilizing the microfilm reader at the Princeton, at the newspaper and periodicals reading room. And the students had a blast with this, as Jarvis students did too. While we were scrolling these, because we had so many students, we couldn't spend a lot of time in each room, but so there were times when I would have some students and we all gather around one microfilm reader. And as we scroll through these, you could see the light bulbs going on in the students' heads as they consider visual texts from these historical times, especially when the advertisements came by. You can see the way people dressed back in like 1980 or what have you, and students would, oh my God, that's crazy what people wore, or the advertisements, what people used to sell and how they would try to sell it. Right? So these visual, these rhetorical communications coming through, and you can just see the wheels turning, and students seeing the historical time in a way they would not be able to if they were to use the Google, right? As they would like to say. So that was one really neat moment where you could capture history in a way that the internet just cannot. We visited the prints and photographs reading room as well. The staff was fantastic, where they set up a little exhibit just for us, and they brought out historical political cartoons, posters, all these write materials for visual rhetorical analysis. And let's see. So for my 102 class, I asked them to compare different visual rhetorical texts. And as an example, we looked at some of these images available from the Prints and Photographs Division. In this case, these are photographs of the Japanese internment camps during World War II. These photographs were taken by the FSA, Farm Security Administration, OWI, Office of War Information. Specifically, it was a government agency going around taking photographs to galvanize the war effort, right? To kind of show what's going on and make everybody feel good. So we looked at these texts of these Japanese Americans being interned, and in class, we looked at the messages coming through. So you see lots of happy people and this group activity going on. And then we examined Ansel Adams' photographs of Japanese internment in similar situations. They looked rather different. They told a very different visual story. And again, the light bulbs went on in the students' heads, and they said, wow, these photos are rather bleak and kind of sad. And it gave a very different story from the FSA OWI photographs. So they were able to compare the different visual texts and come up with some greater insights and significance. So some students, these are some photographs that students used for their own papers in my 102 class. One student analyzed these photographs from the segregation, or desegregation, I should say, period, to girls going to school, and then the governor, I think, blocking the entrance to a school. And another student chose to analyze these historical images related to Chinese immigrants. And of course, I had to ask her, well, how does this relate to present day? And we had a conversation about certain proposed bans on certain populations and such. And Jarvis was able to help us set up a SurveyMonkey survey for student feedback. And the student response was overwhelmingly positive. People just would not, many students voiced the idea that they didn't know this thing existed here, and also that they learned that they could do so much more with it later on down the road. Now, those were two of the primary sentiments I think we got. This was amazing. I didn't know I could do this, and even if I can't use that much of it now, I know I can use it later on in the future. That's lots of feel-good moments there.